Captain James Reed stood on the bridge of the Frontier, his hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the massive alien ships on the view screen. The vessels were beautiful in a strange way, all smooth curves and shimmering metals that seemed to change color as they moved through space. "They're hailing us again, sir," said First Officer Lisa Morgan. Her voice was steady, but Reed noticed how she gripped her console too tightly. "Put them through," Reed said. The screen flickered, and the alien appeared again. It had pale blue skin that seemed almost translucent, with 6 eyes arranged in a circle around what Reed assumed was its head. When it spoke, its mouth barely moved, but the translation came through clearly. "Your answer, human. Will you submit to the collective and accept your proper place?" Reed took a deep breath. "As I explained before, I don't have the authority to surrender Earth or any of our colonies. We are an exploration vessel, not a diplomatic mission. I suggest we arrange a formal meeting between our leaders." The alien made a sound that the translator didn't catch, something between a hiss and a laugh. "There is no need for such delays. Your species is young, primitive, and clearly unsuited for the responsibilities of interstellar society. The collective has studied your transmissions. You spend most of your history killing each other over dirt and imaginary lines. You are mammals, emotional, unpredictable." The alien's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "The decision has already been made. You will be colonized for your own good." Dr. Alan Wilson stepped forward. "Ambassador, with respect, you're making assumptions based on incomplete data. Humanity has much to offer." "Silence," the alien cut him off. "You are not even the most advanced species on your own planet in many ways. Some of your ocean creatures have more complex communication. Your bodies are fragile. You lack natural defenses. The only reason you rose to dominance was your unusual ability to throw objects accurately, hardly a qualification for galactic citizenship." Reed felt a cold anger rising inside him, but kept his face calm. "Ambassador, I urge you to reconsider. We may be young as a spacefaring species, but we learn quickly and we value our freedom above all else. Any attempt to colonize us will be met with resistance." All 6 of the alien's eyes focused on Reed. "Resistance? You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. The collective has 8,000 years of unified history. We have technologies you cannot comprehend. Your entire fleet would not match the firepower of the smallest ship in our armada." The alien leaned closer to the screen. "This conversation is a courtesy. Accept your place, or we will demonstrate why resistance is pointless." Reed shook his head. "Then demonstrate. But know this, humans don't surrender easily." The alien made that untranslatable sound again. "Very well. The demonstration will begin in 6 of your hours. It will target your outpost on Vega Prime. The loss of life will be regrettable but educational." The screen went dark. "Get me Earth Command. Now," Reed ordered. Admiral Stone listened to Reed's report with a grim expression. His weathered face showed no surprise, only resolve. "We've been monitoring the situation, Captain," Stone said. "Defense ships are already on their way to Vega Prime, but they won't arrive in time. Are you certain negotiation is impossible?" "They're not interested in talking, Admiral. They've studied us and decided we're animals to be kept in a zoo." Stone nodded. "Then they've made their first mistake. Underestimating humanity has always been a dangerous error." He looked off screen, issuing quiet orders to someone, then turned back to Reed. "Captain, bring the Frontier back to Earth space immediately. We're mobilizing everything we have." "Sir, what about Vega Prime? There are 15,000 colonists there." Stone's face darkened. "Evacuation ships are en route, but most won't make it out. Sometimes the best we can do isn't good enough, Captain." Exactly 6 hours later, the collective struck Vega Prime. Reed and his crew watched the long-range sensors in horror as energy weapons unlike anything they'd seen before turned the small colony into ash. The attack lasted less than 10 minutes. Lisa Morgan wiped tears from her eyes. 15,000 people. Gone. Dr. Wilson stared at the data flooding his screen. Their weapons, they're not just advanced, they're elegant, designed for precise destruction with minimal waste of energy. That's what you're thinking about right now, Morgan snapped. Wilson looked up, his eyes haunted. I'm thinking that a species that designs weapons like this has forgotten something important about war. They've made it clean, efficient. For them, this wasn't even a battle, it was pest control. Reed nodded slowly. And that's their second mistake. War isn't supposed to be clean. 3 days later, representatives from every human world gathered in the Grand Hall in Geneva. The meeting was brief. When faced with extinction or submission, humanity chose a third option. Admiral Stone stood before the World Council, his uniform perfect, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. The collective believes they know us from our broadcasts and transmissions. They've studied our wars, our violence, our struggles. But they've missed something fundamental. Stone's eyes were like flint. They think our history of conflict is our weakness. They don't understand that it's our strength. A murmur ran through the crowd. Humanity clawed its way to the top of the food chain on a planet filled with predators. We survived ice ages with sticks and stones. We've faced plagues, world wars, climate collapse, and we're still here. We don't just survive, we adapt. We overcome. Stone's voice grew stronger. The collective thinks they're teaching us a lesson. They just killed 15,000 of our people to make a point. They don't understand what they've started. The room was silent now. Every human ship, every colony, every outpost has received their orders. We are now at war. But unlike the collective, we won't target civilians. We'll hit their military vessels, their command structures. We'll show them that humans understand something they've forgotten, the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. Stone's face was grim. They want to treat us like animals. Fine. We'll show them what happens when you corner a predator. The vote was unanimous. In deep space, Captain Reed received the transmission from Earth Command. The Frontier, originally built for exploration, had been quickly refitted with experimental weapons, not as elegant as the collectives, but effective in their own way. Reed opened a channel to the nearest collective outpost. When the same six-eyed alien appeared on screen, Reed didn't wait for it to speak. "This is Captain James Reed of Earth. You seem to have mistaken our patience for weakness. Allow us to correct that misunderstanding." He nodded to Morgan, who sent the data package. Complete details of humanity's response, targets, and timeline. The alien's six eyes widened as it received the information. For the first time, Reed saw something new in those eyes. Fear. Reed cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Battle stations. Let's show them what happens when you pick a fight with the galaxy's most dangerous predators." The Supreme Counselor of the Collective stared at the holographic battle reports with disbelief. 3 weeks had passed since their educational demonstration on Vega Prime, and nothing was going according to plan. "This cannot be correct," the counselor said, waving a limb through the display. "Humans have destroyed 4 of our battle cruisers. How is this possible?" Commander Vex, the military leader assigned to the human problem, shifted uncomfortably. "The reports are accurate, Supreme One. The humans are not behaving as expected." "Explain." Vex pulled up new images. "We anticipated they would follow standard response patterns, attempting to fortify their worlds, perhaps launching desperate attacks with their primitive ships. Instead, they've done this." The hologram showed human ships attacking in formations no collective tactician had predicted. They moved in seemingly chaotic patterns, but with clear purpose, like hunting packs. "They're targeting our command ships first," Vex continued. "And they've already adapted some of our technology. This shouldn't be possible in such a short time." The Supreme Counselor's skin paled. "How many casualties?" "We've lost 7,000 crew members." "The humans have lost." Vex hesitated. "Speak." "Over 20,000. But they keep coming. They throw themselves into battles where victory seems mathematically impossible, yet somehow they achieve it. They fight even when injured. They what, Commander? They seem to get more dangerous when they're hurt. General Mark Thompson walked through the smoke-filled corridor of the captured collective vessel. His left arm was in a makeshift sling, and dried blood crusted the side of his face. Yet he moved with purpose, stopping occasionally to check on his soldiers. "How's the arm, sir?" asked a young soldier with a bandaged leg. Thompson shrugged. "Had worse playing football in college." "How's our progress with their systems?" "Engineer Fletcher says he's cracked their weapons control. He wants to see you on the bridge." Thompson nodded and continued forward. The alien ship was beautiful, all smooth curves and advanced materials, but it had proven surprisingly vulnerable to humans who didn't fight according to the rulebook. On the bridge, Tom Fletcher hunched over an alien console, his fingers dancing across surfaces designed for different appendages. "You wanted to see me?" Thompson asked. Fletcher looked up, his eyes bright with excitement despite the exhaustion on his face. "General, these aliens are incredible engineers but terrible fighters. Look at this." He pointed to the ship's tactical display. "Their entire battle system is built around efficiency. Every attack calculated to use minimum energy for maximum result." "Sounds smart to me." Fletcher shook his head. "It's predictable. They don't waste shots, which means they follow patterns. And their ships." He tapped another display. "Their defenses are designed to handle precise, targeted attacks. They've never faced an enemy that just keeps hitting the same spot over and over until something breaks." Thompson smiled grimly. "So they've never faced anyone stubborn." "Exactly. And there's more." Fletcher pulled up schematics. "Their weapons are powerful but slow to recharge. They're designed for one-shot kills. They never consider they might need to fire repeatedly at a target that refuses to die." Thompson studied the diagrams. "Can we use this?" Fletcher's tired face broke into a grin. "Already working on it, sir. Give me another day with these systems, and I'll show the collective what human engineering can do with alien tech." On Earth, Tanya Brooks pored over biological data collected from collective casualties. As the lead intelligence analyst, she'd been tasked with finding weaknesses in the alien physiology. "Director, I think I've found something," she said, calling her superior over. The director leaned over her shoulder. "What am I looking at?" "Collective nervous systems." Brooks highlighted sections of the data. "They process information incredibly fast, faster than humans. Their reaction time should be superior to ours." "Should be." "Yes, but there's a flaw." She pulled up combat footage. "Watch this firefight. See how the alien soldiers hesitate when the environment changes. They're processing too much data. They're trying to calculate the perfect response to every situation." The director watched the footage again. "While our soldiers just react." "Exactly. Millions of years of evolution prepared humans to make snap decisions in dangerous situations. The collective species evolved differently. They analyze, then act. In battle, that split-second delay is getting them killed." The director nodded slowly. "So the more chaotic the battle, the bigger our advantage," Brooks finished. "They're fighting with computers. We're fighting with instinct." "Get this to the front lines immediately," the director ordered. "Tell our commanders to make things messy." Commander Vex stood before the collective council, his report causing murmurs of alarm among the gathered leaders. "The humans are not following any known warfare doctrine," Vex explained. "They attack when they should retreat. They adapt our technology in ways that sacrifice efficiency for raw power. They continue fighting with injuries that would incapacitate any collective species." The Supreme Counselor raised a limb for silence. "You're saying they're irrational?" "No, Supreme One. I'm saying they operate on different principles." Vex displayed footage of human soldiers. "Look at their eyes. There's something there our species lost long ago." On the screen, human fighters moved through the wreckage of a collective outpost. Their movements were quick, decisive. When they encountered resistance, They didn't calculate odds. They simply attacked. "What am I seeing, Commander?" the counselor asked. "Predator instinct," Vex said quietly. "Our analysts have studied Earth's evolutionary history. Humans are pursuit predators. Their ancestors chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They're biologically adapted to keep fighting long past the point where logic would dictate surrender." The council chamber grew silent. "They don't fight like a civilized species," Vex continued. "They fight like their prehistoric ancestors, with tenacity, adaptability, and a refusal to accept defeat." He paused. "And they're angry about Vega Prime. Very angry." The Supreme Counselor's skin had turned almost white. "Can we still win?" Vex hesitated. "Our technology is superior. Our numbers are greater. But," he looked at the screen again, at the humans with their determined expressions and bloodied uniforms. "I don't know anymore." 3 months into the war, Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Vengeance, a human vessel built with reverse-engineered collective technology. The ship was not as elegant as alien designs. It was bulkier, more angular, with exposed sections that would have horrified collective engineers. But it was deadly. "All weapons systems online," reported her tactical officer. "Enemy fleet detected at the edge of the Rigel system." Morgan nodded. "Send the message to all ships. Operation Huntsman begins now." Across human space, vessels of all sizes moved into formation. They weren't the most advanced ships in the galaxy, but they carried the most dangerous crews. Humans who had learned that the collective's perfect formations and calculated attacks had a critical weakness. They fell apart under chaos. Morgan opened a channel to the fleet. "Remember Vega Prime," she said simply. The human ships accelerated toward the waiting collective armada. On their screens, the alien vessels began to arrange themselves into their mathematically perfect battle formation. Morgan smiled. "Let's show them what happens when math meets madness. All ships. Execute scatter pattern Baker. Target their command vessels. Make them improvise." As the human fleet broke formation and charged in seemingly random directions, alarms blared across collective ships. Commander Vex, watching from his flagship, felt a chill run through his body as he realized what was happening. "What are these creatures?" he whispered as the first explosions lit up the darkness of space. The beast was fully awake now, and the collective was learning a painful lesson. In the savagery of true warfare, elegant efficiency was no match for raw, predatory determination. The historian moved slowly through the ancient archives of the collective, pulling up records that had not been accessed in thousands of years. As one of the few scholars dedicated to studying primitive species, he had been summoned by the Supreme Council for consultation. "You requested these files specifically?" asked his assistant, watching as the historian examined old biological surveys of Earth. "Yes," the historian replied. "The Council wants to understand why humans fight as they do. The answer lies in their past." The assistant blinked nervously. "Is it true they've taken 3 of our core worlds already?" The historian nodded grimly. 6 as of yesterday. And they didn't just take them. They took them without destroying them. They could have bombarded from orbit, but they sent in ground troops instead. It's unusual. Why would they do that? It's inefficient. That's exactly what we need to understand. The historian pulled up an image of early humans hunting large prey on the savannas of Africa. "Look here. Most predator species in the galaxy evolved as ambush hunters. They hide, they pounce, they kill quickly. Humans did something different. The images showed primitive humans tracking animals across vast distances. They called it persistence hunting," the historian continued. "They would identify the weakest target in a herd and simply follow it. For hours, sometimes days, they couldn't run as fast as their prey, but they could run longer. The prey would eventually collapse from exhaustion, and then the humans would move in for the kill." The assistant stared at the images. "That's barbaric." "That's effective," the historian corrected. "And it shaped their neurology. Humans evolved to be patient, observant, and absolutely relentless. They don't give up. And now, they're hunting us. Commander Jake Miller led his Special Forces team through the darkened corridors of the Collective Command Station. They moved silently, their modified armor allowing them to blend into the shadows almost perfectly. "Central Command is 2 levels up," whispered his second-in-command. "Security will be heaviest there." Miller nodded. "Remember the plan. We move like our ancestors, slow, steady, always advancing. They'll expect quick strikes. They won't expect us to just keep coming." The team moved forward, encountering the first guards at a junction. Instead of engaging immediately, they waited, observing the patrol patterns. "Just like tracking deer," Miller murmured. "Find the path, find the pattern, find the weakness." When they finally struck, it was with the calculated precision of predators who had studied their prey. The guards were neutralized before they could sound an alarm. "Central Command, 1 level up," his second reported. Miller smiled grimly. "Let's show them how humans hunt." Dr. Emily Carter faced the emergency session of Earth's High Command with confidence despite the gravity of the situation. As the leading anthropologist specializing in human combat psychology, she had been called to explain her latest findings. "The Collective intercepted my research," she began. "Our intelligence indicates it's causing significant alarm among their leadership." Admiral West leaned forward. "What exactly did they learn, Doctor?" Carter displayed images from human history. "My research explains human combat effectiveness through our evolutionary history. The collective species all evolved from herd or solitary animals. Humans evolved as pack hunters. We're naturally wired for coordinated group violence in a way they simply aren't." She showed ancient cave paintings depicting human hunting parties. "This is particularly disturbing to them because the collective has spent thousands of years breeding aggression out of their societies. They've engineered themselves to be logical, peaceful, and cooperative. They thought that made them superior. Instead, it's made them vulnerable to a species that never forgot how to fight." Admiral West nodded. "So what happens now that they understand what they're facing?" "That's why I called this meeting," Carter said gravely. "They're frightened. And frightened animals sometimes lash out desperately. We need to prepare for escalation." Pilot Nick Rogers barrel-rolled his fighter through the debris field, 3 collective pursuit craft hot on his tail. His squadron had been ambushed near one of the aliens' main supply routes, but instead of retreating, Rogers had led his pilots deeper into enemy territory. "Red Squadron, follow my lead," he called over the comm. "Eagle formation, just like we practiced." The human fighters suddenly split apart, then curved back toward each other in a complex pattern that mimicked hunting eagles herding fish. The collective pilots, trained to follow predictable pursuit algorithms, couldn't adjust fast enough. They found themselves boxed in, suddenly becoming the prey instead of the predators. "Now," Rogers called. The human fighters struck from multiple angles simultaneously. Within moments, the collective ships were reduced to drifting debris. "Formation worked perfectly, sir," reported his wingman. "Of course it did," Rogers replied. "We've been using that hunting technique for 10,000 years. Their computers never saw it coming." Grand Admiral Brell, Supreme Military Commander of the Collective Forces, stood before the council with his head bowed in shame. "We have lost the Arcturus sector," he reported. "Human forces are advancing on all fronts. Their tactics are impossible to predict with our battle computers." "How can this be?" demanded the Supreme Counselor. "Our technology is superior. Our ships are more advanced. Our weapons are more powerful. Yet we are losing," Brell said simply. The historian stepped forward from the shadows where he had been waiting. "If I may, Supreme One." He activated a holographic display showing human neural patterns compared to collective species. Humans process fear differently than we do. For us, fear triggers retreat, a survival instinct that served our ancestors well. For humans, fear often triggers aggression. The display shifted to show human brain activity during combat. Moreover, they exhibit a unique ability to form intense emotional bonds with their combat units. They fight harder to protect each other than they do to protect themselves. It's a tribal instinct our species evolved beyond millennia ago. The Supreme Counselor's skin paled. Are you saying we cannot win? I am saying, the historian replied carefully, that we miscalculated. We awakened something ancient and terrible. A species whose very neurology was shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of hunting and warfare. Grand Admiral Brell straightened his posture. I recommend immediate withdrawal to our core systems and a diplomatic initiative to end this conflict. Retreat, gasped a council member. Unthinkable. The alternative, Brell said grimly, is extinction. The humans are not fighting to win a war, Supreme One. They are hunting us. And unlike us, they evolved to finish what they start. The envoy's ship approached Earth under a flag of truce. Inside, the alien diplomat prepared the message of peace it had been authorized to deliver. Whether humans would accept it was another question entirely. On Earth, President Taylor reviewed the latest battle reports with his advisors. Human forces had pushed deep into collective territory, achieving in months what the collective had thought impossible. Their envoy will arrive tomorrow, an aide reported. Taylor nodded. And our response? Admiral West's face was grim. We've intercepted transmissions from their core worlds. They're developing something big, a weapon of last resort. They're still hoping to turn this around. Then we need to show them there's no point in continuing, Taylor said. Prepare our forces for Operation Endgame. If the collective wants peace, they need to understand exactly what the alternative looks like. As night fell over Earth, the factories and shipyards worked at full capacity, turning out weapons and vessels with the efficiency that only a predator species fighting for survival could achieve. The hunt was entering its final phase, and humanity was closing in for the kill. High Chancellor Sol gazed out at the shimmering towers of the collective capital world, Centralis. For 8,000 years, no enemy had ever threatened this secret place. Now, human warships were less than a week away. The defensive grid is at full power, reported an aide. Our remaining fleets have taken position around the outer planets. Vol didn't turn. And will it be enough? The aide hesitated. The military analysts say, no, High Chancellor. Not if the humans attack with their full force. Sol finally turned, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of deep distress in his species. Then the Omega Protocol is our only option. High Chancellor, the Omega Protocol has never been used. The ethical implications. Ethics. Sol's voice rose. The humans have pushed us back across 50 systems. They've taken our colonies, captured our ships, and turned our own technology against us. Now they threaten our homeworld. Ethics no longer apply. The aide bowed and backed away. I will inform the science division to prepare the device. After the aide left, Sol returned to the window. In his reflection, he barely recognized himself. For the first time in his long life, he understood what true fear was, the kind of fear that drove primitive species to desperate acts. May the ancestors forgive us, he whispered. Admiral Rachel West stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Nemesis, studying the holographic display of the collective's home system. Around her, the officers of the combined human fleet waited for her orders. All ships report ready, Admiral, said her executive officer. The collective defense fleet is holding position around the outer gas giants. West nodded. And the diplomatic channel. Still open. Their envoy is repeating the same offer. Immediate ceasefire if we withdraw to our original borders. Professor David Parker, who had been appointed as the fleet's diplomatic advisor, cleared his throat. Admiral, may I speak freely? Go ahead, Professor. We've won this war. The collective is beaten. Their remaining ships can't stop us from reaching their homeworld. Perhaps we should consider their offer. West turned to face him. After what they did to Vega Prime, after 15,000 civilians were vaporized to teach us a lesson. Parker met her gaze steadily. Yes, even after that. Revenge is a powerful motivator. Admiral, but a poor foundation for lasting peace. This isn't about revenge, West replied. It's about making sure they never threaten humanity again. Captain Ben Foster of the Advanced Warship Predator spoke up. What about a middle path? We push forward to show them we can reach their homeworld, but stop short of attack. Force better terms than what they're offering. West considered this, a show of force rather than its application. Exactly, Foster said. Like when our ancestors would surround their prey but offer it an escape route, directly into their trap. West smiled thinly. Old hunting techniques applied to interstellar diplomacy. I like it. She turned to her tactical officer. Signal the fleet. Operation Final Hunt begins in 1 hour. The human fleet moved through the collective's home system like a pack of wolves, systematically eliminating the defensive positions that stood in their way. The alien defenders fought bravely, but were outmaneuvered at every turn by tactics they couldn't predict. On the Predator, Captain Foster led the spearhead formation that punched through the final defensive line. Centralis is in visual range, reported his sensor officer. Their planetary shields are active, but our new weapons should be able to penetrate them. Foster nodded, feeling a strange mix of triumph and unease. They had come so far, lost so many people to reach this point. The collective's capital world lay before them, ripe for the taking. Captain, called his communications officer. I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface. Something massive is powering up. Foster frowned. Analysis? Unknown technology, sir. But the power levels are off the charts, far beyond anything we've seen from them before. Foster opened a channel to the flagship. Admiral West, we're detecting something unusual on the planet's surface. Recommend caution before we proceed. Understood, Predator, came West's reply. All ships hold position. Let's see what they're up to. In the deep underground laboratory beneath Centralis, collective scientists made the final adjustments to the Omega device. The massive machine hummed with power, drawing energy directly from the planet's core. All parameters are set, High Chancellor, reported the lead scientist. Once activated, the device will create a quantum disruption field that will destroy all advanced technology within a 5-light-year radius. High Chancellor Xol stared at the device, including our own. Yes, our civilization will be set back centuries, but so will the humans, and any ships they have in our system will be immediately disabled. Xol placed his hand on the activation panel. How many of our people will die when life support systems fail? The scientist lowered his eyes. Current estimates suggest 40% of our population, but the alternative is complete destruction at human hands. Is it? Sol removed his hand from the panel. I wonder. On the Nemesis, Admiral West received a priority communication from Earth. President Taylor's face appeared on the main screen. Admiral, our intelligence has detected a massive energy buildup on Centralis. Our scientists believe they're preparing to deploy some kind of doomsday weapon. West straightened. We're seeing the same thing, Mr. President. Recommendations. Preemptive strike, Taylor said firmly. Destroy whatever they're building before they can use it. Professor Parker stepped forward. Sir, if I may, this could be their version of a cornered animal lashing out. Perhaps we should attempt communication first. West considered this. Mr. President, request permission to send the Predator closer to assess the situation, while keeping our main fleet at a safe distance. Taylor nodded. Granted, but be prepared to strike at a moment's notice. If this is a doomsday weapon, we can't allow them to use it. The Predator advanced cautiously toward Centralis, its sensors scanning the planet's surface. Energy readings are continuing to build, reported the sensor officer. Whatever it is, it's reaching critical levels. Captain Foster made his decision. Open a direct channel to their command center. When the communication went through, he found himself facing High Chancellor Xol. This is Captain Ben Foster of the Earth ship Predator. We've detected your weapon powering up. I'm here to warn you. If you deploy it, we will have no choice but to destroy your world completely. Xol's 6 eyes blinked rapidly. You would destroy an entire civilization. We would defend ourselves against extinction, Foster replied evenly, just as you're preparing to do. For a long moment, there was silence. Then Sol spoke again. Perhaps there is another way. Foster leaned forward. I'm listening. Full, unconditional surrender, Sol said. The collective will submit to human authority. In exchange, you spare our worlds. Foster's crew looked at each other in shock. This was more than they had hoped for. I'll relay your offer to my superiors, Foster said. But first, power down your weapon. And if your leaders reject our surrender. Foster's expression hardened. Then you'll learn what happens when you corner an apex predator. Admiral West received the message from the predator with mixed emotions. The collective was offering complete surrender, everything humanity had fought for. Yet she knew from intelligence reports that their doomsday weapon could still be activated at any moment. It could be a trap, warned her executive officer. Lure us in, then strike. West nodded. Or it could be genuine. She made her decision. Signal all ships. Prepare for final approach to Centralis. If their weapon power's down, we accept their surrender. If not, she paused, we show them what humanity is truly capable of. As the human fleet moved into formation, the apex predators of the galaxy prepared for either peace or a final devastating hunt. The Great Hall of the Collective Council stood silent as human representatives walked through its doors. For 8,000 years, no outsiders had ever set foot in this sacred chamber. Now, soldiers from Earth moved confidently across the polished floor, their boots echoing in the vast space. President Alex Taylor led the human delegation, flanked by Admiral West and Ambassador Michael Ward. They approached the central platform where High Chancellor Sol and the remaining collective leadership waited. The terms of surrender have been prepared, Ambassador Ward announced, placing a data tablet on the table. High Chancellor Sol's 6 eyes blinked nervously as he picked up the device. The collective leaders read in silence, occasionally exchanging worried glances. When Sol finally spoke, his voice was strained. You will occupy our worlds. No, President Taylor replied. That's not our way. The alien leaders looked up in surprise. Contrary to what you believed about us, Taylor continued, humans don't seek to rule others. We fight fiercely when threatened, but we don't conquer for conquest's sake. Then what do you want? Asked Sol. Ambassador Ward stepped forward. Justice for Vega Prime, reparations for the lives lost, and guarantees this will never happen again. The terms were clear. The collective would pay to rebuild human colonies damaged in the war. They would share technology and resources. They would acknowledge humanity as equals in the galactic community, but they would keep their autonomy. I don't understand, said a collective elder. You could take everything from us. Why don't you? Admiral West answered, her voice firm but not unkind. Because that's not what makes us dangerous. What makes us dangerous is knowing when to fight and when to stop fighting. 1 month later, Elder Trom of the Collective arrived on Earth for the first official diplomatic mission. As one of the oldest living members of his species, he had requested a special meeting with human leaders. The meeting took place in a simple room overlooking the rebuilt Geneva headquarters. President Taylor, Admiral West, and several other key figures listened as Elder Trom activated an ancient holographic device. What I am about to show you has not been seen outside our most secure archives in 5,000 years, the Elder said. The hologram flickered to life, showing star charts and strange alien forms. Long before the collective formed, our ancestors encountered another predator species. Trom explained. They called themselves the Krell. Like humans, they evolved from pack hunters. Like humans, they were adaptable, relentless, and fiercely protective of their territory. The hologram showed massive warships and devastated worlds. The Krell conquered dozens of species. They ruled through fear and strength. But unlike humans, they never learned restraint. They pushed too far, took too much. Eventually, the subjugated species united against them. The images shifted to show terrible weapons and dying stars. The war that followed nearly destroyed this quadrant of the galaxy. The Krell were wiped out, but at an unimaginable cost. Afterward, the surviving species formed the Collective, vowing never to allow such destruction again. President Taylor leaned forward. "Why are you telling us this?" Elder Trom's eyes fixed on Taylor. "Because you stand at a crossroads. You are what our ancestors feared most, apex predators with the technology to span the stars. You could become like the Krell, or you could become something new, predators who protect instead of simply hunting." Admiral West's eyes narrowed. "Is that a threat?" "No," Trom said quietly. "It's a hope. And a warning. The galaxy doesn't need another predator civilization that only knows how to conquer, but it might benefit from one that knows how to defend." Dr. Sarah Cooper led the first human scientific team to visit Centralis. As head of the Interspecies Understanding Initiative, she had developed protocols for peaceful exchange between humans and the Collective. "Their technology is truly remarkable," she told her team as they toured a Collective research facility. "But they focused so much on efficiency that they've missed opportunities for creative solutions." The Collective scientists watched the humans with a mixture of fear and curiosity. One young researcher approached Dr. Cooper hesitantly. "Is it true," the alien asked, "that humans still practice what you call sports? Competitive physical activities?" Cooper smiled. "Yes, very much so. It's part of our nature. But why continue such primitive behaviors when you have advanced technology?" "Because they teach us valuable lessons," Cooper explained. "How to push our limits, how to lose gracefully, how to work as a team." The alien considered this. "We have much to learn from each other, it seems." "That's the idea," Cooper agreed. 6 months after the surrender ceremony, the young alien called the Witness stood with a group of Collective children, watching as a human transport landed in the main square of Centralis. This was the first civilian exchange program. Human teachers and artists coming to share their culture. "Are you afraid?" asked one of the children. The Witness had been present at the surrender ceremony, had seen the fierce human soldiers up close, but he had also seen something else in their eyes, a complexity that the Collective propaganda had never mentioned. "No," he answered truthfully. "I'm curious." The humans emerged from their ship, looking around with interest rather than hostility. One of them, a tall woman with gray in her hair, approached the group of alien children with a warm smile. "Hello," she said, kneeling to be at their level. "My name is Laura. I'm a teacher from Earth. Would you like to learn about human art?" The children hesitated, looking to the Witness for guidance. He stepped forward first, remembering Elder Trom's words. "Watch them carefully. What we learn about humans now will shape our future for centuries to come." "Yes," the Witness said. "We would like to learn." Years later, the Witness had become a respected scholar, specializing in human collective relations. He often told the story of that first meeting to new generations of alien children, who no longer grew up fearing humans, but instead saw them as valuable allies. "Remember this lesson," he would say as he showed them historical images of the war and then the peace that followed. "They hunt like no others, fight like no others, but also forgive like no others. Their capacity for both is what makes humans the most dangerous and valuable species in the galaxy." On the rebuilt colony of Vega Prime, humans and collective species now lived side by side. A monument stood in the central plaza, bearing the names of those lost in the initial attack. Beside it, a newer statue showed a human and alien hand clasped together. President Taylor, now in the final year of his term, visited the monument on the anniversary of the attack. As he laid a wreath at its base, a group of collective children approached, led by their teacher. "Do you hate us for what our people did?" one brave child asked. Taylor looked at the child thoughtfully. "No. Your people made a terrible mistake. They thought they understood what humans were, but they only saw part of the truth. What part did they miss? The child asked. They saw that we could be dangerous predators, Taylor replied. But they didn't see that we could also choose to be protectors. That's the real strength of humanity. Not that we can fight, but that we can choose when not to. As the sun set over the colony, humans and aliens stood together in a moment of silence. Among the stars above, human ships patrolled alongside collective vessels, former enemies now working together to protect their shared worlds. The galaxy had indeed found something new. Predators who had learned that the greatest hunt was not for conquest, but for peace.